I'm a caregiver who sterilizes and cares for the community cats in the neighborhood. I do so to prevent unwanted litters and cat culling by authorities. Because sterilization is unnatural, is this bad karma?
Well,
Could you please explain?
Some people say being a monk is unnatural. But it's good. I mean, no, you're making, it's like you're giving the cats 8 precepts so they can't have sex. So actually you're raising the cats up to a higher level so they get a much better birth. It's a wonderful thing you're doing. Well done.
Alright, last question.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to those of you that your questions are not answered. There's just too many of them, I'm sorry. And we really should let Ajahn Brahm take his rest soon. Are the teachings of the Dharma existential or deterministic? Is there free will and agency, or are we at the mercy of extraneous cosmic forces?
Aha! Now that's such a deep question. Is it existential or is it what, deterministic? It's neither. So sometimes when we try and put these categories into the Dharma, these are categories from philosophy. And that philosophy just went in a total different direction than what Dharma does. That goes out into the world in the realm of thinking. So when you come into real Dharma, just the stillness of the mind and feeling these things rather than thinking about them, both of those categories do not really make sense. And even the free will, or a cosmic influence, that's very much from the theistic religions, would say, well, there is suffering, is it God's fault? Because God made the universe. This is according to the theists, the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, people who believe in God. If he made the universe, then he made cancer. He made lust, which broke up your family. He made sort of dengue fever. So it's him to blame, or her to blame, or whatever. We can't be gender specific these days, because maybe God's a woman. I don't know. But anyhow, because of that, the people who had theistic religions developed the idea of free will. That God gave human beings free will, therefore it's not God's fault anymore, it's your fault when things go wrong. And that's where we got, this is very simplified, that's where people got the idea of free will as an excuse for the suffering in this world not being caused by God, because he gave you free will, so you had the choice to do good or do bad. But that's where it came from. Because Buddhism is not a theistic religion, the whole concept of free will or determinism just makes no sense to us. We're in a total different sort of framework to that. So Buddhism is not about that at all. It's totally different to those categories. So what Buddhism is a way of taking responsibility for one's actions, and realizing there are consequences to those actions, and those consequences are not sort of imposed upon you by some judge called God. It happens naturally, like laws of nature, not by laws imposed by a being. And also that once we have consequences of our actions, we know that there is a way of doing some kindness, goodness, generosity, and these are things which do lead to happiness and peace and harmony in our world. And as we go deeper into the peace and harmony, we realize it's the nature of this being we call us. And that's where we find that the more peaceful we come, and being peaceful means actually having no will at all. In other words, being so still that will gets so calm and peaceful that you don't want anything. And that becomes the highest happiness, is to be so content you don't need anything else. Which means you don't need any will. This thing we call will, which is always driving you here and driving you there, just like a wind which blows you backwards and forwards. When that wind called will ceases and stops, one has a very, very calm and peaceful day. So it's a totally different philosophy, which is why those categories, they don't fit Buddhism.
Thank you very much. Once again, I think